Hey everyone, welcome back. And those of you watching for the first time, greatly appreciate you tuning in. I'm Waleed, that guy that does laundry and talks about laundry all the time. In today's video, we're going to touch on a framework I so wish we had been using several years ago when we first started doing commercial laundry, because it probably would have doubled the amount of commercial laundry business that we do today. So let's jump into it.
Let's go.
What is this four-part framework that we're going to talk about? Well, let's take a look at it. I took the liberty of sketching some of it out for you. It's a 4-point commercial quote system that we use. The 4 parts are research and discovery, numbers, KWIC. Don't worry, I'm going to tell you what KWIC is later on. Proposal, and then follow-up. All 4 of these components come together to give the client a great explanation of who you are, the services, and the value for your services, and most importantly, the price, because that's what they want to know. So let's jump into it. First, let's talk about commercial clients that we're identifying in this video. We're not talking about the commercial clients that like the Cintas, the Armor, those big linen textile firms go after. We're talking about a different type of commercial client. So let's look at a few of those. So what we're going to do here is share a few with you. So think about this. You're an emerging business. You're surrounded by other businesses in your local community, and then those that extend beyond your local community. Who are some of those businesses you should go after? Let's take a minute and think about this. Who could use your services? We got schools. You're like, Waleed, schools? Yeah, think about it. Schools have athletic teams. They have after-school programs. They have uniforms. That might be a little tricky because the parents typically take care of the uniforms, but those parents could turn in potential customers. You could have some kind of advertisement with the PTA or different events that go on, or be a sponsor. So we said uniforms, athletic teams, they have bands, gymnastics. Think of all that stuff, right? So schools is one. How about salons? Everybody's got some type of salon in their communities, whether it's a nail salon, a beauty salon, I don't know, a salon, plenty of others out there. Think of spas, towels, robes, washcloths. That's a lot of linen, right? Think of local church. The church. Churches have choirs, right? Those robes got to be cleaned. More than likely, they want them dry cleaned. More margins in dry cleaning. What else? We got, hope I spelled that right. We got medical offices, and medical offices give you a huge range. You got the gowns or the scrubs, those lab coats that they wear, and then you probably can get some of their professional workwear if you have some kind of employee package set up with the business. So those are a few, but think about it. There's tons you can go after, retail shops and plenty others. And I got a whole list. If you go, I'll put it down in the show notes. On our resources page, we have a link of our favorite commercial clients. You can click on it, download it, and go after those and increase your commercial business. So for the purpose of this video, these are the type of commercial clients we're going to be talking about. These emerging businesses, small and mid-size, that are in your community. You're still watching, right? So clearly you're getting something out of this video. Do me a huge favor. Subscribe and like it. That's all I ask. Subscribe and like. Back to the video. Let's talk about the research and discovery phase. You get a call from a client, you get an email, and they're like, hey, I need to use your services. You want to get as much information from them as you can to prepare this 4-part framework. And one of the parts you're going to need that information for, 2 of the parts you're going to need that information for, is for your proposal and for your pricing. Let's look at what we want to get from this research and discovery phase. First, you want to get their full contact info. Someone calls you and you're like excited because you got a deal, you got a lead on the phone, and you're like, yeah, I'm about to get this client. It's going to be huge for our business. A lot of times you hurry up and get off the phone with them. You're so excited. You don't get all the information you need to, one, follow up with them and prepare the best and accurate pricing that you can give them. So let's run through some of the things you should make sure you get during this discovery and research phase. And keep in mind, all this information you're not going to get while you're on the phone with them, because you want to do a deep dive. We'll talk about how you get the rest of that information. So first, you want to get their full contact info. This is really important because you need to follow up with them. Name, full name, business name, phone number, cell phone number, business, email, all those good things. This is a good one. Why are they looking for the service? Why did they contact you for the service? They need towels done. They need sheets done. They need uniforms done. Why did they reach out to you? Why aren't they doing it themselves? Why aren't they using another provider? And here's one of the points here that I just mentioned. Are they using someone else already? That's key for you because you want to find out why are they switching from them to you. Did they have a problem with the other vendor? Did the other vendor raise their price and now they're looking for someone who's going to do it on the cheap? Get that information. They're probably not going to share every single detail with you about the previous vendor if they were using one, but get as much information as you can. Here's a good one. Items that need to be serviced. You want to know exactly what they want you to service. Is it towels? Is it choir robes? Is it rags from their kitchen? Is it oily uniforms? All these things are going to make a difference because you're going to have to price it accordingly based on the level of work that needs to be done to those items. Are there items that are going to be hard for you to fold? Like we all love baby clothes. Not. Think about all those things are going to be factored into your price. What's their turnaround time? How fast do they need this thing back? That's going to affect your cost. Do they need it picked up and delivered back to them, or are they going to drop it off at your store? And then think about folding and packing requirements. Do they have any specialty folding that they need? Do they need you to pack it a certain way? All that information is important to get. Well, you said, well, Lee, there's probably a whole bunch of other things you want to ask. And you don't, I said earlier not to ask all that on the phone because you don't want to overwhelm them. You don't want to feel pressured. What you also can do is one thing that we do is we created a questionnaire. You can do it for free. Go to Google Docs, create a full questionnaire with all the questions you need answered, and then you email it to them so then they can take the time and fill it out and not feel pressured on the phone while you're asking it. Or maybe not even pressured. They might not be able to get that and put their hands on that information in that exact moment. They might need to go back to their office or to their store and look those things up. So you can create this free questionnaire on Google using Google Forms, and then you email it to them. We'll put a link to ours in the notes, and that way you can use ours as a base, or you can just copy that one and put your own logo on it and use it yourself, right? So that's the research and discovery phase. The next part of you want to talk about in this framework, 4-part framework, is KWIC. Now I mentioned KWIC before, and now we're going to talk about what does KWIC stand for. It's simple. It means know what it costs. You need to know exactly what it's going to cost for you to do this order. Common mistake I see throughout the industry. I see it in the forum sometime. I hear it in discussions. People say, hey, I got this commercial client. They want me to do this work for them, and I'm not sure what to charge. What price should I give them? The question is valid, but some of the responses I hear and see make me slightly nervous. Actually, more than slightly. They make me very nervous. I've seen people say, oh, just charge them 10% less than what you charge your retail customer. Charge them 5% less, or just factor in how many that you towels they're going to send you or whatever the items might be to weight, and then just mark it down by X%, or give them a huge discount because they're sending you volume. I hear where people are coming from, but let me be absolutely clear. I truly believe that is not the best way to price it. You need to know exactly what this is going to cost you, whether it's per item or per pound, factoring all your expenses, and plus you got to factor in your profit. So Waleed, I need to figure out the costs, right? So what are my costs? Think about it. Supplies, labor, gas, maintenance on the vehicle if you have to do the pickup and delivery, the bags, right? That's part of the supplies, the detergent, anything that goes into servicing this order, you need to factor. how many times somebody touches it, your labor. Don't just think about the labor of someone folding it. If someone has to, your manager has to review the order, or your manager has to send out the invoices for it, or you have to send out the invoice for it. You need to factor in all those details as part of your cost. Know what it costs you. You have to know what every item costs you. What we do to figure it out is, it took us some time. And as I mentioned earlier, if we had this framework earlier, we probably would have 2x'd our business. Our commercial business would be twice the size it is now. We have a spreadsheet that we use, and we like to nickname it KWIC, know your cost and profit. And this spreadsheet, we enter in every single detail of the cost. And you can see it right there on the screen. Here's a snapshot of one of the many tabs that is in it. And we enter in all of our cost. And then it gives us what the cost would be to prepare this. So in this example you see on the screen, we're doing it by pound. We also have it set up where we can enter in dry cleaning too. And then we factor in what our profit would be. And then that cranks out the price for us per pound in the laundry, when we're doing laundry, the price by pound scenario. All right. So it's so important that you know what your cost is. Don't just ballpark it. Don't guess some number, and don't go ask somebody what they're charging and then they give you a number and that becomes your number. No, you have to know exactly what your cost is. There's a saying, what is it? Death by 1,000 cuts, right? That's what it is when you just quote a price and not know exactly what your cost is and what your profit's going to be. When you just make up that number, or you get a number from someone else, if that number is wrong, and when I say wrong, it's too low, you're losing money every time you do that service for that client. So in essence, you're killing your business slowly, death by 1,000 cuts. All right. So that's the second part. Know what it costs. Let's talk about the third part, the proposal. Now we're starting to wrap it, all these pieces we talked about earlier together. So I sketched out a few things here for the proposal, right? What should be included in your proposal? Think about any proposal you've gotten in the past, not the really crappy ones, the good ones. They had sections to them. There was parts to it. It was kind of like a story. And that's what you want your proposal to be. You don't want it to be all long like a McKinsey proposal. No disrespect, and shout out to the people at McKinsey. They're focusing on a different clientele. You want it to have nice, small snippets of different information that that client will need, can easily digest, but tells a story, right? Tells a story. So let's look at what should be in it. You want to have an intro about your company, right? You don't have to have a 3-page bio. Don't go crazy, right? Just tell who your company is, what they do, and if you're closely tied to your company or you're the face of your company, include that too. Who you are, how you got into the business, but keep it short. Keep it short, but keep it interesting, all right? Here's a key one I'd like you to touch on. Why are you different? Why you're different is what you want them to see and hear when they make the decision to choose you. Different. Don't talk about better. No better. Talk about why you're different. It's easy for someone to talk about why they're better. And then when you start talking about better, you make the client compare you to everyone else. And if they're asking other laundry providers or garment care providers for this same service, you do not want them comparing your price to theirs. You want to force them to make a choice, and you force them to make a choice when you're different. So tell your story and make sure you highlight you're different in that. Here's another one that's good. Provide them with a detailed quote. You're saying, Wally, why should I give them a detailed quote? When's the last time you had a contractor do some work for you? Think about that. Did you ask the contractor just to give you one number? Oh, it's going to cost you $55,000 for us to renovate this part of your house. You asked them to break that quote down because you wanted to understand what was in that $55,000. And you should do the same for your client in your proposal. So give them a detailed quote, right? And we'll break that out a little more when we get to the next part. And you want to give them 3 pricing options. Yes, 3. Wally, they only asked for 1. Trust me, give them 3. 3 is the magic number for this video today, right? It's a 4-part framework, but when it comes to pricing, 3 is your magic number. And we're going to talk about why. So give them 3 prices. Why 3? Think about it. You want them to feel a certain way when they look at this proposal and they see these 3 prices, right? So 3 does this for them. It helps them understand the value that they're going to get, right? If I just give you one number, like, what do you have that to compare? Like, what frame of reference I'm giving you with just one? But if I give you 3, you get to understand the value. You see some depth there, right? Other piece of why 3 is, it gives you a better, I said you, not you. You already know. It gives them a better understanding of what you're proposing to them, price-wise, right? You want to give them knowledge, educate the consumer, and they'll become your best friend, right? So give them a better understanding by giving them these multiple options. And the other thing that it adds, it shows the quality, of your service. Right? Because you're just showing it's just not one thing. It's a variety. So you're showing them the quality in giving them 3 prices, because in one price point, they could get your super deluxe package. Then in another one, they could get the bare basic. And then you have one in the middle that gives them a combination of the 2, right? So they can see the quality of your service. It's just not just one thing. Yeah, we put it in the machine, we wash it, we dry it, we fold it, we throw it in the bag. There's other pieces to it, right? So let's talk about the 3 exact things they're going to get out of this Y3, right? So I touched on the top layers of it. Let's talk about exactly what they're going to get out of it. So number 1, when you give them the 3 prices, we're going to say the high, the middle, and the low. They get perceived choice. Go figure. You give them the perception that they're choosing. One service that you're offering them, but you're saying this service can be customized 3 different ways. So you're giving them the perception of choice. And that's very important, because choice makes them be in control. Or maybe someone might say, from a psychological perspective, it makes them feel like they're in control. I don't know, however you want to word it, it puts them in control. The contractor gives you one price, $55,000. You're just like, damn. You might be like, that's a little expensive, but I really want to work with them. So you might try to chew them down on the price, right? Or you'll be like, it's just $55,000. That seems awfully cheap. Are they really going to do a good job? When you give them a choice, they don't feel backed in a corner. They get to choose. So that's one, perceived choice. The second one, price anchoring. You have high, you have the middle price, and you have the low price. Your high price becomes your anchor. Are you following me now? The high price becomes your anchor. Because that's your anchor, the first thing someone sees is says, holy smokes, $55,000. Then your second one might be $45,000. And we're using the contractor's example here, not laundry. If you're doing orders for $35,000 for one order, call me, like I'll sub to you, like I'll help you out on that, right? So the second one is 45, that's your mid. And then the third one might be 30,000. You've just anchored, that high price is the price anchoring. So now they look at the other option and say, oh, more affordable, right? That's one thing. They look at it and says it's more affordable. And FYI, the middle one, that's the price that you really want them to choose. That's why it's in the middle. It's a little lower than the high one. It's above the lowest one, so they don't feel like they're choosing the cheapest option and they're getting a little more. And that's that sweet spot, that middle number. So think about that when you're pricing. Make sure that middle number is the one that's best for you. And if they take that top option, guess what? That's a win for you. And you know what that win is called? It's an upselling opportunity. So when they look at that middle one and they say, you know what, that top one, I get these extra items, which we talked about earlier, making sure the quote is detailed. And they'll say, well, the difference between the middle one and this is X price, but look how many more things I get in the premium package. So I'm going to choose the premium one, just pay that little bit of difference. And look, I get 5 more things done to my order when I choose that premium. So that's a huge upsell opportunity, right? Let me give you an example. Brian, who owns Laundry Genius, shout out to Brian. We were at a conference, this is 2023, last year, 2022. And we're sitting at the table before a session starts or like in between sessions. And he mentions to me, he says, yeah, Waleed, I got a commercial client, a prospective commercial client. He wants me to give him pricing. How should I do it, right? And the conversation kind of went something like that. So we were going back and forth. And I was like, Brian, I think you should give him 3 prices. He's like, 3 prices? And I was like, yeah, give him a high, give him a medium, and give him a low. Give him options. Brian says, cool. We talk about a few other things. He adds some more value on top of it. And then conversation ends. And I can't remember if it was later on that day or the next day, but it was during that conference, and we were there for like 3 days, 2.5. And when Brian and I talk again about this client, he says, Waleed, you're not going to believe this. I was like, what? I presented the client the 3 options. He said he took the middle one. I believe he said he took the middle one. And then he said he's got another project that he wants to give him, and he wants the higher price for that option. Are you following along here, ladies and gentlemen? You talk about upsell. Not only did he get the upsell, right? The client took the middle number, but he also got an additional book of business from that client because of the higher price that the client saw and said he wants it for the next thing. All right. So remember, perceived choice, price anchoring, and the upsell opportunity. That's why we want to have the 3 prices in our proposal. Okay. So after you have all that, you presented the proposal to them. The client is interacting with you. Maybe you exchange some emails. There's some conversation going on. And let's be clear, this is not going to just be happening for one client. You could have multiple proposals floating out there at the same time. My concern is going to be, how the heck do you keep up with all this stuff? Are you scribbling it on a piece of paper? Do you have it on the back of a napkin, or you're just typing it in the note sections of your computer or your cell phone, whatever it might be? So part 4 of the 4-part framework is the follow-up. How are you going to stay in touch? Let's remember, everyone is not going to sign immediately or accept your price. They might say, I need to go back and think about it. I need to talk to my partner or my spouse, or I need to go discuss it with my team, right? How are you going to keep in contact with them so those leads don't fall through the cracks? One thing I want you to make sure you do is have this. I need you to have a CRM. And if you don't know what it is, client relation management system, right? Or customer relation management, whichever words you want to use for it, right? But it's a CRM. And I'm not saying you need to get something all fancy and spectacular, but think about it. And I'm sure you've heard the name at some point in time, a Salesforce or Keep, or who's another one that's out there that's pretty well known, like a Pipedrive. Think of Salesforce. Those are CRMs, right? It's this place where you put all your leads so you can keep track of them for where they are, conversations you've had, emails, phone, etc. You need to track this, because as your business continues to grow, you're going to get more and more leads. And then at some point, you're not going to be doing all these proposals, all these quotes. You're going to have someone on your team doing it. So you need them in one place where your team can manage it, look back at history, and then you can go and see what has transpired over a period of time with your team members following up with your prospective clients. So we want to have a CRM. Well, Waleed, I don't want to spend a lot of money. Listen, you don't have to. You can get some really simple CRM out there for a couple bucks or for free, right? So let's talk about free. You could use a spreadsheet, right? We've got a spreadsheet. You got Google Sheets and you got Excel. You can make one in a spreadsheet, put some tabs on it, or just make some columns and say, this is where we are, and here's a note section. Keep it really simple. There's another free one called Street. I used that for a while. It ties right into your Gmail account. for those who use the Google Business Suite, and it's free. Use the basic parts of it for free. Another one I like, we use it at one of our other businesses, HubSpot. They have a free version and then they have a paid version. Paid version can get really freaking pricey, but it's got a lot of tools and a lot of great things. I've played with it and used it for a while, but there's a free version to start off with. Just start with something basic. There's also Pipedrive I mentioned earlier. There's, I don't know. Let me look at my list. I got a whole bunch here. You could even use Notion. If you're familiar with Notion, you could use Monday. You could use ClickUp. Just Google it. There's tons out there. Insightly, like now they're all coming to me, but Google it, click on them, do a free trial with them and see which ones best fit you. I just give you one word of advice. Don't get caught up on this journey trying to find the perfect software. Find something that's easy and simple for you to use. We're doing laundry, ladies and gentlemen. Like we're not proposing quotes to like put grass on the moon to start a colony. Like we don't have to go over the top with it. Keep it super simple. The more time, I am an app junkie. Yes, I've admitted it, and the first step to recovery is admitting it. I am an app junkie. I will download the latest app, the latest piece of technology, and be like, oh, this will make my life so much easier. Newsflash, it won't. It's not the tool. It's you, how you use it, how you approach it, what you do on a daily basis. So don't get caught up on that, all right? That's a whole nother video we can talk about. Find something simple and start. I don't care if you get a loose leaf binder and just start writing it down and you put some tabs in it. Start with something simple, but track the data because you're going to know, you need to remember when you sent them the last email, what was the last conversation? What did they say? And the other reason you want to have a proposal, which I didn't say earlier, but it just dawned on me, is when you send them the proposal electronically, when you use a proposal software, Google them, there's a ton out there, inexpensive and free ones. You get electronic signature and you can track when they open it, how long they looked at it. Every time I got clients we've sent proposal to years ago and I get alerts every so often, right? That so-and-so just opened the proposal. I'm like, I sent this proposal to this guy 2 years ago. And when I get the alert that they opened it, guess what I do? I send them a little email. Maybe not that day, but the next day. And I don't badger them with the email. It's just like, hey, here's the latest article about how doorbells ring. Right? No, I'm just kidding. But here's the latest article about whatever the service that they're asking about. So I educate them without pestering them, right? So think about that. So we went over the 4-part framework. I encourage you, whether you use this the 4-point commercial quote system that we use, or you create one of your own, create a system. Include these different aspects: research and discovery, your numbers, know what it cost, a proposal, document the entire thing, the pricing, the quote, your story, etc. Document that, give them a proposal, and then 4, follow up. Have a system to enter them in to know what the conversations were and where they are in the transactions. So that's our 4-point commercial quote system. Appreciate you tuning in today and watching. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments or hit me up, waleed@washweekly.com. I love to hear your thoughts and answer any questions you have. Thanks again.